Good morning. Welcome to Meditation Monday. Back on track after a couple of bumpy weeks there. This is the month of February. I'm sorry. This is the month of March. So we're moving into a different focus. Last month we were working with senses. This month we're going to be working with compassion. But we're going to work with compassion in a way that's a little bit different. I come to meditation from the fine art realm, the expressive arts realm. And so I have a lot of experience that is outside meditation, traditional meditation. What I mean by traditional meditation is when we practice compassion, there's a couple of practices that are just really, really beautiful and used often. One of which is imagining others having compassion for us and going through the process of imagining different scenarios so that we can send compassion to ourselves, which is beautiful and wonderful. And there's so much more we could explore, which is what we're gonna do today. Let me read you a little bit to start this off. The piece that I'm going to read is from the Book of Qualities by Ruth Gendler. It's a sweet little book. Oh, I don't know if you could see it. There it is. It's a sweet little book that I think in the 90s, some time ago. But the cool thing about it is that it's a personification of compassion. So here is the piece I'm reading. Compassion wears Saturn's rings on the fingers of her left hand. She's intimate with the life force. She understands the meaning of sacrifice. She's not afraid to die, and there's nothing you cannot tell her. Compassion speaks with a slight accent. She was a vulnerable child, miserable in school, cold, shy, alert to the pain in the eyes of her sturdier classmates. The other kids teased her about being too sentimental, and for a long time she believed them. In 9th grade, she was befriended by courage. Excuse me. Courage lent compassion bright sweaters, explained the slang, showed her how to play volleyball, taught her you can love people and not care what they think about you. In many ways, compassion is still the stranger, neither wonderful nor terrible, herself utterly always. So that is a personification of compassion. And that's what we're going to play around with today in our meditation visualization. At the end of it, we're going to be working on a gerund, which I'll explain a little more toward the end. And I'll also put it up in the description if you watch this on replay. And again, excuse my throat. I think it's going to be a persistent thing, it seems. Okay, so find your space. You can sit in for a few minutes. We're going to do about a 10-15 minute meditation. Maybe take a deep breath to settle yourself in, grounding into the place that you're sitting, to the bed that you're laying, or if you're standing up, grounding into your feet. Just notice for a minute the energy of this moment, not trying to change anything, but just be present with what's here. You might lean into the sensation of being supported by your chair or the bed, feeling into your feet, noticing what your nervous system is doing. If you have any buzziness or achiness that you're holding, again, meet it with kindness. Maybe lean into what your heart is telling you this morning. the sense of how it's feeling. Check into your thoughts and where they are in this moment. Again, not trying to change, just observing and being with what's present and real for you in this moment. And with each breath, becoming a little more settled, a little more grounded into the body. And as your presence deepens, shift attention inward, feeling the body from the inside out. And as you are sitting in presence, let the idea of compassion come into your consciousness. Just hold the idea for a minute, noting what's there, what associations, maybe the subtle changes in your body or your breath. And let's take a minute to lean into our senses and explore what's there. And letting your inner wisdom guide you, maybe bring to mind colors you might associate with the idea of compassion. Maybe they're colors you link to something you've experienced in the past, or maybe they're just arising in this moment. Are there textures or shapes that you associate with compassion? Let your inner wisdom bring forward the sense of movement or maybe sounds that you link to this idea, this place of compassion. Noticing as you go any changes, any subtle shifts, at just the mere idea of bringing compassion into your space. Again, holding kind attention, whether the subtle shifts indicate some sort of comfort or they indicate something else, is perfectly allowed here. The heart can hold it all. So tap into your taste or other areas of sensory experience. What's alive there in those spaces, sometimes obscure spaces, that goes along with compassion? Just with presence and kind attention, take a moment to hold all the sensory experience that's come up for you. In your mind's eye, let these sensory experiences inform you of what compassion might look like to you. If you embodied the idea of compassion, if you personified it, then what would compassion look like? What's the sense that you would get with compassion if you walked up to compassion and hung out? So let your mind wander into what you think your idea of an embodied compassion, compassion that you could see that's a person in this instance. What do you start to see as features? What would the shape of the head or the quality of the hands in this idea of compassion? What sort of hair would compassion have? What color of skin? And as your mind's eye wanders into this idea, bring to mind how tall compassion might be, or maybe the kinds of clothes that compassion wears. What textures would the clothes be? Would compassion be one of those that's got purple hair that's dyed? What jewelry would you think a personification of compassion would wear? Now just hold space and imagine. Maybe let your inner wisdom and your mind fill in the blanks that we haven't covered. What is the picture of compassion right now? The personification of compassion. Now imagine that you're walking up to this personification of compassion. Again, bringing awareness to any subtle movements or changes, anything you notice in the body. Just as you walk up to compassion, as if you're going to have a conversation, what starts to change for you? Just bringing attention to the response in the body. For some people, getting to know compassion can feel many different things: overwhelming, difficult, emotional. All those feelings are welcome. Just simply notice, bring kind attention to all the feelings that are showing up are welcome. At what distance do you feel most comfortable with compassion, this personification? Can you get close, or do you prefer to be farther away? And at whatever distance that you feel comfortable being in the presence of this personified compassion, just sit for a few minutes. Bring attention as you sit not just to the awareness of your body's responses, but what is the kind of presence that you notice between yourself and this embodiment of compassion? How would you connect? Or how would you hold space for feelings that are more like discomfort? in these moments of imagining being present with the embodiment, the personification of compassion, explore a little bit. What would you do? What relationship would you want to cultivate? Now imagine that you have a gift for compassion, that maybe you didn't notice it before, and there it is right next to you. And as you're giving compassion the gift, again, being mindful of what you're feeling and your responses, but also become aware that compassion has a gift back for you. Let yourself take that gift. Maybe put it in your pocket or look at it. Maybe set it down next to you for later. Whatever the situation is, just allow yourself to take it. And be present with a sense of space between you and this personification of compassion after accepting the gift. Noticing what's there, noticing what is. And allow yourself to stay in the space as long as it feels important. And when you're ready, let your attention come back to your room or your office, wherever you are. Staying just a little bit longer to explain the journal practice a little bit. So the first part is, if this feels right to you, draw or create somehow collage or clay, whatever your material is. What did you give to compassion, and what did compassion give back to you? Even if it's a simple drawing, just bring it into form. And then the second part of this is writing a gerund, writing down different gerunds, I guess is a better way to say it, that are related to your experience of giving and receiving from compassion. So gerund, and I will show you, let's see, let me make it a little more easy. So gerunds are ing words, and they inform our emotional state more so than other words. And so what I'd like you to do is do 5 to 7 words based on this experience of sharing with compassion. And you write those 5 to 7 words in a column, if you can see it, like this. There it is. So for mine, I picked imagining, becoming, spiraling, sharing, creating, living, and beautifying. Now, in this idea of gerunds, you can make up words if you'd like. There's no problem with that. And once you've gotten your list of words, then choose a word for either side of your gerund. So you write them in a column, And on the left side, put a word, and on the right side, put a word that expands that the idea or the vibe of the gerund. And so when you've done that, if I can do this, it looks something like this, where you're starting to make phrases. So this one says, I'm imagining compassion, right? And then do that for every single one. They can be singular phrases on their own. They can be linked together. If you have to add an extra word or two, that's okay. But in the end, this will create a sort of poem. So I'll read mine to you, just so you have an idea. And all the gerunds are the ing words, just as a reminder. I'm imagining compassion and becoming grounded. Messages spiraling through, deep sharing mind, consciously creating images, sensory living out loud, always beautifying life. So it doesn't have to make complete sense, but just a flow of what you experienced and another level of expression for what you experienced. So thank you for your participation today. I wish you all that you need as you move through your day. And a reminder that tapping into our compassion, the embodiment of compassion, compassion for others or ourselves, is just a breath away. Wish you all you need. See you next time.